To replicate these walls as Mei, you're going to have to pay attention to a few itty-bitty tiny details. First detail you need to watch for is the elevation in the ground. Even though everything seems to be on one level here, this road is actually slightly lower in this part here, which can make a huge difference in some areas being able to wall up or not. For instance, if I try to put the wall down on the road and jump up here, I won't be able to make it. Too low. However, if I put it on the slightly raised part right here, you'll see that I can actually make it up to the high ground. Another factor you're going to have to watch out for is doodads that exist where you're trying to jump. So if I wall up here, try to jump up there, that's going to block me. Even if I get on the high part, that will block me. But some doodads are a little bit more discreet than this one. For instance, if we could just come over here, we see this double lip. You see on this side, there is no double lip. But that can make a huge difference on whether or not you can make it up or not. In this case, we actually technically can make it up here, but it slows us down. Now, if we wall where there is not a little double lip, it becomes a lot easier. And we have a higher chance of making that jump in a real game, because every little advantage you can get makes a big difference. And you'll find there are areas where that double lip and other similar little doodads will completely prevent you from making a wall boost. You're also going to want to pay attention to your jump and make sure that you delay it as long as possible. See right there, I jumped a little early. If I jump a little later, slightly later, I can actually make that. But that is a huge little detail. Well, it's a small detail that makes a huge difference, because it makes a difference from not making it completely and falling to being able to come up here and then hit your enemies from the side or whatever. You're also going to want to pay attention to all the little doodads on the ground and see which ones you can climb on and which ones you can put walls on. So the fence, as you can see, we can't put the wall on the fence, but we can put it on top of the bench. Also, even though technically we can actually stand on this sign, we cannot put a wall on it. And things like this street light, we can't put a wall on, but you have to be careful, because that doesn't mean we can't do it on any other signs. You can actually put a wall, you line it up just right on those signs. Some wall boosts are completely possible, but you may not think so right away, because if you try to boost up to the second layer right here, your head will hit the ceiling. And so there's times where the ceiling will actually get in your way. In order to get around this, one thing you can do is put your wall right as you're on the edge and moving forward. That way, by the time the wall goes up, you're on the outside of it. Or if you're right on the edge, it will push you forward. And then just jump back. Another way you can counteract that is by looking backwards, jumping out and putting the wall down, which is pretty similar. Now, similar to Numbani, with that street post, there are a lot of little glitchy wall placements where if you move just one pixel one way, a wall will go somewhere, and if you move another pixel the other way, it'll go somewhere completely different. On the Mura, the window here at the choke is one we can actually approach from a few different angles, but if we come here to this corner, we can actually put this wall right here on this brown wooden post, but if we move right just a couple pixels, it goes down to a lower level. So if we were to put the wall, let's say, on this lower level, it will be impossible. It'll be so close, but impossible for us to get through that window. However, if we were to come here and we have our wall placement about where we had before, but just move over a few pixels and we place it right here, now we'll get that slight boost enough to go through the window. So like I mentioned on Numbani, there are different layers on what seems to be a single level on a map. So for instance, obviously we have the sidewalk and we have the road, But on a more subtle level, we have a slight grade throughout some maps. And so actually, I'm pretty sure this is a lower level right here, and this is a higher level right here, even though you can't really see it on the naked eye, with the naked eye. And if we put a wall, for instance, right here, and we try to jump through here, technically, if we had the perfect jump, we could actually make that. But, so actually, let me show you that. See, technically, we could make it with the perfect running jump. But if we put it on this side, oops, let me try it again. If we put it on this side, we jump through. Obviously, that was a good running jump. But if we start here a little closer, we can make that jump. And if we put it over here on the left side and try that same kind of jump, we won't make it. Because this side is actually slightly lower than that side. And of course, that brings me to the detail of, you know, timing your jumps perfectly, because sometimes you will want to be right next to something, and sometimes you'll want to like start away from something on a jump. Just depends on the surface you're jumping to, and some stuff like that. Pretty much the last detail you need to pay attention to is the surfaces you're putting things on, like wall surfaces and textures and stuff. So, for instance, right here, we can actually move this wall up and down the edge of this wall. And you'll also want to take note of exactly to what extent you can do that to... so we can see, we can go up here and then it disappears right there and it just jumps to the top. So you're going to want to go through each level and find each map and find which surfaces you can do similar things like that to. Because for instance, if we try to do the same thing against this wall, it's will not happen. You cannot put it up against that wall, but you can against these surfaces. With that said, let me go ahead and show you all the different tricky walls make and do. As I mentioned earlier, you can come to this corner right here and then place the wall right on that wood part. You can also do the same thing, but facing this way as well. See, if you move it up a little bit more, then you get that. I'm not sure if the wall is actually catching on part of the wood or is catching on the rocks. But either way, it's you aim in about the same area. It makes a lot more sense to wait right here because you have a lot more cover than right here. If you're just standing right here, you're going to be out in the open for a while because it's going to be nearly impossible to master the exact pixel placement like immediately. You're probably going to be here for like a couple seconds, and then meanwhile, if you're sitting there, people will be shooting you from there and there. If you're right here, you have cover, and if you're boosting teammates, it's easy to coordinate them because you can just tell them to stand right along this wall right in front of you. Also, as I mentioned, you can put a wall here if you get a perfect jump. If you're boosting teammates, that would be hard if they're not perfect themselves. But you can also put a wall right here to jump through, just like so. You can also get through that window by putting a wall right here and jumping through like so. Now, if you want it to be even easier, you can come out right here and then place the wall so that it's directly pointing at the window. However, I found that lining up against the wall, similarly to lining up against the wall down there, gives you more cover and it makes it easier to coordinate your teammates, just like so. Okay, another trick wall we're going to do after you get up here, and of course you can get up there too, but what we're going to do is we're going to go from this side to that side. The tricky part about this is we have two ceilings to watch out for, this one and that one. That one we're going to be likely to hit as we jump across, and this one we're likely to hit right as we put the wall down. So we could go backwards and jump and put the wall down. That'll be harder, so it's easier to just go forward with momentum, but we're going to put the wall right in that corner. And then make sure you just dodge that part right there. And from here, of course, in this position, we can always wall up over this and go on the other side. And similar to that, you can also put a wall right here and hop over too. Now, this wall is very well known about, so it's not like super secret, but it still is a nice trick wall, is being able to go from this side to the other side with Mei. And you can actually do it going the opposite way, either from that level and also from this level as well. Now you can also wall to each one of these sides on Hanamura. You can wall up here. You can also wall from here to there. You can also wall from the bottom parts to there if you get a running jump start. That's important that you get a running start. If you don't get that, then you won't be able to make it. And make sure you jump straight at it. And we can also jump from there to here too. Also, I'd like to just note that you can put the walls right here. And you may be wondering why you would want to wall over there when you can just wall up here like that. And the reason is, if the enemy team, which is going to be, there's probably going to be at least one person watching from the main area, if they see that wall, they're going to know that you don't have a wall to use when they come past the choke. So if we put the wall over here, it won't be visible to them. So unless they hear the wall, they won't know that you use the wall. So we'll still have to play cautiously. So on Horizon Lunar Colony, if we get on this bench right here and we hop up, we can actually put a vertical wall down right here on the top of the surface. And if we do it at the right time during our jump, it will actually take us up. And you're going to be wanting to be jumping forward too at the same time, so you're more likely to get on that wall. So in real time it looks like this. And that can be a great way to quickly hit the enemy team. So here's another one at Horizon Lunar Colony, taking advantage of this little computer doodad. We can either put it on the computer vertically if you're coming, if you want to get a head start on it and come at a distance. And then we can hop here, but you gotta make sure that jump is very good. Or if you're coming from this angle, of course, when you come at that angle, it's very easy to mess it up like that. But then we can jump straight over like that. Or if you want to get right on the computer and you're coming at it from this angle, you can put a horizontal wall down and then easily jump over. Now here's another one that's super tricky, and you're not going to get a whole lot of opportunity to do this because we're going to hop over here, but we have to wait for this thing to make it all the way over here before we can do it. But what you're going to do is you can either hop on this fence, and then we're going to put the wall on this little, oh shoot, we're going to put it on that mini wall right here. Or you can do it off the fence and like this, and we're going to jump and put the wall down as we're jumping so we get on top of the wall. And let's wait for our crane to come. And we're going to run forward, and this one's really hard. Gotta get a perfect jump. Come back. Oh, I made it. Okay, so you gotta get like the perfect jump. It's absolutely imperative you get the perfect jump. And see, if you make one little mistake, you're gonna have to wait like, you know, I don't know how long this takes, but it probably takes at least a minute, which is a long time in a game to have to wait for it to come back. So probably not the most, you know, useful wall or practical wall, but potentially, you know, if it's in the right place at the right time, and you know, you need to get up here, or you want to get up here, or you want to boost like a teammate up here or something, it could come in handy. Okay, so we're at Anubis, and a little trick you can do is hop on this bag, then hop on this little tent thing, and you can put a wall down, hop on this side. Or similarly, if you're already on this high ground, you can just hop on the tent part, put the wall down, and then hop here. And then you can kind of just go back and forth between the two, however you like. And we can do a similar thing over here. If we hop on a statue, hop on the tent, put the wall down. And then we could actually move between these windows throughout the whole area right here. Could be useful for a turret or something similar. Another one that could come in handy is walling from here to that high ground. And This one you have to make sure you get a good jump and make sure that the wall is, placed by the edge. The biggest issue with this one is a lot of times, there'll be like a Widow or Hanzo or something up here. And when you put this wall here and you come over here, you only have a very small window to go to dodge left and right. So it will be a lot easier for them to hit you if you come at them like that. Now, a more safe way to get to that high ground would be to go on this half bridge, jump here, and then you can put a wall down, obviously, and then come up here. And that way you'll have a lot safer approach, and they probably won't see you coming. So if you're able to somehow get behind the enemy lines, you can do that. Or if you're on defense and you want to get to high ground, you can do it that way. It's faster. Okay, so we're on the first capture point at Anubis. Now, obviously, you can get up here using a wall super easy. Nothing hard about that. But actually, if we want to go straight from the point to that second high ground, we can using this. However, this is going to be super sensitive. What we're going to do is we're not just going to place it on this first layer of this doodad. This doodad actually has a second layer, the second circle right here. And we need to be very careful with this because we want to put the wall on this second half of the circle, and if we put it too far on this way, like so, we're not going to be able to make that jump. However, if we put it right here on the later half, ta-da, we can make it over just fine. So here's what it would look like in real time. Yep, just like that. Of course, if you're on defense and you're doing setup, this one will take two walls, but you can wall up here, and then once you wait for your other wall to come back, you can wall over here, and this sometimes is nice for putting like a turret or a bastion or something up in this high spot. This next one at Anubis is for the second capture point, and we can actually get up onto that high ground that Pharahs and Widows and Hanzos and stuff will usually perch on. So there's two ways of doing it, two variations. The first way is you're probably going to want to get rid of that box there. And you're going to jump onto this box from this raised little doodad thing. And we want to jump right here before it falls down again. If we do that, we can get on the box. And then we're going to want to put our wall as close to the edge as possible, and then jump, get a good jump, and then we're up here. So in real time, it looks like this. Ta-da. Now, if you're finding that a little difficult to do, another way to do it is we're still going to have to get on this box, but you can hop over to this little doodad, then hop there to that box. Now this jump, you're going to have to make sure you get right on the edge. And then from here, we can drop a wall and then hop here. So either if you find that first one to be difficult, or perhaps if you want a little bit more cover, because if the sniper's up there right as you're doing it, you might not want to go straight at him. But if you come here and then you jump there, and come here, you're a harder target to hit, and you have a little bit more cover. Okay, we're here at Volskaya, and some useful walls obviously is walling up there. It's not super tricky, and from there you can hop into the window, or you can hop into the window from that spot. Those ones are pretty self-explanatory. This one is not super tricky either, but this is one that you need to make sure that you know. This one you can do by, you see how there's a grade right here? It's raised a little bit more over here. If you put the wall right there, you can easily hop here. Similar thing over here. There's a pile of snow. If you just put, you don't even have to put it at the very top, but if you just put it on that pile of snow, super easy to hop up here with the wall. Technically, you actually can just go to the high ground from the flat spot, but you have to have a perfect jump. So if our jump was not perfect, if we were right here, or if we were right here, whatever, it's very hard to hit. You have to have a perfect jump and make sure you're running straight at it, and you hit it perfectly on the crest, pretty much. But you probably don't want to do that in a actual game, because there's a good chance you might mess that jump up. So you have snow pile right here makes it really easy, and a snow pile right here. So this next wall at Volskaya is going to allow us to come around to this other side. Just put the wall down right there, and then hop over here, and it's pretty simple. And similarly, we can do same thing over here. Put the wall down, and then hop directly over there. Now, something I'd really like to make note of, if you don't make a perfect wall, let's say it's like that, you can still actually hop over if you just rub against that part right there. So that was a really, really, really bad wall. Now, we don't have to go straight to the... You can come here and slide on the edge, and that will actually give us a little further distance. Okay, we're here at Eichenwald, and so our first little tricky wall is walling on top of this bridge at the choke. And so there's 3 different little doodads you can use. The first one is this little box right here, so if you want to come on this side and boost you and your teammates over like that. We can also put it on the table or on these little things right here. So you can do it like that, or you can be on a table and put it on that, or you can just put it straight down the table. If you're just coming over by yourself, it's probably easier to come onto this stage and do it. That way you have more cover. If you're boosting your teammates up, you'll probably want to do it either on that crate or newspaper stands. Cycle, bins, wood. Okay, here's our next little trick wall at Eichenwald. So we can actually get onto that high ground from this side, but we have to put it on this little robot, and we have to make sure it's on the very top of the robot. See, there's different spots you can kind of put it around this robot, the dead bastion. We put it right there. We can make it on the top. Just make sure you don't like put it part way, otherwise you won't be able to make it. And of course, similarly, we can put it on this little dead bastion too, which is actually a lot easier to do than the bastion. And if we approach this second point, we can actually get in that window just by putting our wall right here. It's debris, rocks and stuff. Also, as we approach the end of Eichenwald, you can get up to these little chandeliers. You just have to make sure you put it right on the edge, and you get a good jump. And you'll see I just barely made it there, almost didn't make it. So make sure the wall placement's by the edge, and you get that really good jump. And this one is a lot easier. Just make sure you have some forward momentum so you don't hit your head on that wall, or I mean the ceiling, and just run forward. Put the wall down and hop over. And from here you can either hop here or there or stay here or whatever. Okay, we're here at Numbani, and our first trick wall actually requires 2 walls. So we would need to wall up on this bus, and then we'd have to wait for our wall to accumulate again. And then we'll come here, and this wall placement should be very close, as close to the edge as possible, but as long as you get it a little bit past this line, you will be okay as long as you get a perfect jump. Of course, the closer to the edge you get it, the less perfect the jump has to be, but still, you want the wall to be as perfect as possible and the jump to be as perfect as possible, because this will be a very, very tight wall and jump. So if we do it like that, we can make it over, and then this is a really good position to flank your enemies, and especially if you were able to bring a couple teammates with you on that wall as well. Now if we come around the side here on Numbani, we can, if we hop on this little planter thing, wall up, we can easily jump here and flank the enemy team if they're standing right here, or we can go grab cover over there. Now, if you just want to go straight to that left side and you want a little bit more cover while you're doing it, what you can do is you can come over here and then you'll put a wall, but you need to make sure that this is pretty close to the edge, and then you'll actually be able to jump right over there. So here's what that looks like. And then see, you have a lot more cover as you're coming over here, and it's less likely they'll know what you're up to, and you'll be not as close to them if the enemy is standing right here, or at least if 1 or 2 or whatever are standing right there, you'll be not as loud, and so this will allow you to make it over here a lot more safely. Or of course you can go down there, whatever. And for this first capture point, we can actually jump up to any of these second tiers. I used to think that you had to put it on the bench. That makes it really easy, or on that trash can or whatever, or even right here on that second thing. That makes it really easy, but as long as you put it on not the road, but you put it on the sidewalk kind of part, and then you jump here where there's a single lip. If you jump there where there's a second lip, as I mentioned earlier, you can do it, but you have to have a perfect jump, at least for this position. Okay, so we can get up to the statue right here. You won't be able to do it just obviously by putting a wall right there. However, if we come around here, you hop on the bench or the fence, and then you hop on this little, whatever this is, like a map thing, whatever. We put our wall on that map. We can easily hop to this little statue, and this could be a good spot maybe for fighting a Pharah because you got some cover, or putting like a turret or something like that. And then of course from here we can hop on the bus, and then from here hop on this layer. And one thing you want to note about the bus is this has 2 layers right here, so it's going to be harder to hop from the bus to there, especially because there's a double lip. But if you're on this higher tier and then you go right here, you can make that jump. And similar thing right here is you see there's a double lip until right there, so we can't actually jump from there to there. Just make sure if you do that, you try to come through the single lip spot, and also make sure you put the wall down on that slightly raised ground. I think it is technically possible if you put it on the slightly raised ground to make it over the double lip. It's just nearly impossible though. In this area, we can do the same thing. You can put the wall down on any of the sidewalk areas. You can also put it on like the cars and boost up, or just on the sidewalk areas. Remember, there's a double lip here, so you gotta get a good jump. But this whole area is also accessible with the walls. Now, if we come over on this left side, there's 2 ways we can actually get to that extra high ground right there. We can either jump over here, hop on this, and then wall up like that, which is going to take a little bit longer, even though it could be a little bit more sneaky. Although you have to get a good jump right here. If you get a bad jump, you won't be able to make it. So make sure you get a good jump there, and then jump there, wall up. Or the second way we can do it is we can hop here, and then we can actually put a wall partway up this wall. And if we jump as we're doing it, be able to make it up here. But the important thing is you can't put it like low. It can't be too low, and obviously if you go too high, it'll go to that top layer, and you won't be able to jump on it. So this is what it looks like in real time. See, in there I barely made it because I actually should have put it slightly higher. Oops. See, obviously that one was too high, but like that was perfect. But you saw the first time I made it, but it gave me a little bit of a delay. And in a full like real game, you don't want that. You don't want to get slowed down by barely making it, you know, because if there's a DPS looking at you, there's a good chance you'll die. And of course, once we're up here, you can either come down that way, or you can actually hop onto this little circle thing, etc., etc. Okay, the final kind of tricky wall or walls for Numbani is as we approach this last point and getting up here. Now, getting up there is a little bit difficult. I used to think pretty much the only way to do it was to come around here on these little doodads and hop over there. But that can be a little annoying if you just want to go straight up there. You don't want to have to go all the way around here and then, you know, take the extra time and risk getting hit doing that. So technically you actually can, if you put your wall on the high ground, and you see there's no double lip right here. So if you get a good jump, see that jump didn't work. If you get a really good jump, then you can make it. And same thing with this side over here too. A good jump, and then you can actually make that. However, if you want to do it without a delay, you can put your walls just on some of these steps right here, and then it's a lot easier of a jump to make, and it's very smooth with no delay. Okay, now we're here at the Ilios Well. One kind of tricky wall is actually walling across this giant well. It's not something a whole lot of mazes do, probably because, you know, obviously if you fail, you die. But you actually can do it if you put the wall here on this little lip thing and you get a really good jump. You can actually make it across, and just barely. So it's not one that's probably the most useful all the time, because you gotta be really careful of getting booped right there. But it's important to know that you actually can make a beeline across to the other side of the well. Okay, now here at Ilios Ruins, we can actually get to this really high ground right here, which a lot of widows hang out on. We just come over here, hop on this step, and hop on this step. Wall up from yeah, get on the ground. Okay, we're here at the Ilios Lighthouses, and one trick wall you can do is actually put your wall here on the corner and then hop across to the other side. However, you need a Lucio, and I don't have a Lucio right now, so I'll just put some footage in this little area. But anyway, what you're going to do is put the wall on the corner, and as long as Lucio is speeding you guys, you can pretty easily hop over to the other side. You still need to make sure you get a good jump in. If he's doing his amp it up and he's, you know, giving you the super speed, then actually you can be super duper lazy with your jump, and you won't even really need to make sure you jump by the edge or whatever. But yeah. Now the next wall we can do is generally going to be on your enemy side, kind of in the same spot. And it will probably take 3 walls, although 2 walls if you go the long way around and get to this high ground that way. But that way's riskier, so most likely it'll take you 3 walls, assuming you just wall up here from the main ground. But if you get up here, we can wall up to this little part right here, and then you're going to have to wait for your next wall to come back. And then you can kind of wall over here, and then you can kind of balance yourself here and kind of shoot at some enemies, and you can back out and slide. You can kind of control your sliding. You can go back and forth, and if you want, you could go around here, land on here. You could also fall down that way. Let me show you some different ways you can kind of position yourself. So we can come this way, and we can just kind of go back and forth here. And then, so now in this spot, I can go this way, that way. I can kind of stay here and come over here and pop some people. And then I can kind of wait right here. Or you can kind of jump around here, then fall in this area. You just have a lot of options as far as where you want to go. Potentially you can make it all the way over on that side. And if you get on this little awning part, you can make it over here. Although you won't be able to go over there because this edge will stop you, but perhaps if chasing someone who's doing something similar, you could do that. Now we're at Nepal Temple, and if we come to the side of the point, we can actually stand on this ledge right here. And from this ledge, we can just hop over here. And this wall is actually really easy. It's just not a whole lot of people know about it. But what's a little trickier, or a little bit more confusing or mysterious about it, I guess, would be that you can actually do the same thing from the other side. You can get up there from this side by hopping on the strum. Then you can hop on this gong. It has a little part of it. You can stand on, and then putting the wall on like that, and then come around this way, like so. Even peek the corner and then fall back. This kind of slidey part. However, the weird thing about this is We can do the same thing on the other side, of course, except if we come over here, there's no drum and no gong. So I'm guessing that originally I thought that drum and the gong was there specifically for Mei to do that, but when you look at this side, it's gone. It's like completely gone. So that makes it actually a little unfair, a little imbalanced. I don't think Blizzard would do that intentionally. So I think that actually that wall trick is one that the developers are probably not even really aware of. Okay, so here we are at Oasis Gardens, and if we come to the middle of the map, there's this line right here, and we can actually put a wall right here. This one is going to be super sensitive, and I'm not entirely sure of all the factors that go into it myself, but sometimes it will boop you off, and sometimes it won't. It has nothing to do with the seat. I think it might have to do with your position towards the wall, how close you are. It would have to do with where I jump, but we're going to jump up and be going forward and put the wall down right on that line. Will allow us to get in here, and of course from here we can also jump there. And then once we're on here, we can also wall back over this window area. Okay, so we're at Oasis Gardens, and we come to the middle area. There's this little line right here. It has a slight ledge where it allows us to put a wall down. What we're going to do is put a wall. We're going to jump and put a wall midair, forward onto it in that window from here. And you can do this either head on or from the side. This one is extremely sensitive, though. Here's what it looks like full speed. And then once we're in this window, we can actually jump over here. And then from here, also once our wall builds back up, and go back to the window again. Now this one is super duper sensitive, and I myself can't even replicate it all the time. I'm pretty sure it has to do with your distance from that ledge. I think there's a sweet spot that you want to hit. You don't want to be too close and too far away. But I can't say that that's the factor for sure. There have been times where I've been really close where it's gone up, kind of like that. The one thing I can say for sure is you don't want to be too far away. But yeah, go ahead and give it a shot and practice it, and just kind of gotta get the feel for it. Okay, so we're here at Dorado, and our first trick wall is going to be putting the wall on this little well. If we jump up and do that, we can easily get to this high ground. So, and we can combine this with the rest of our team. If the rest of our team goes ahead, and especially if we have a Lucio, and get basically the whole team up here super duper fast, kill everyone, boot people off, etc., etc. Now the next, it's not really a trick wall, it's just a wall a lot of people don't realize is going up to this area. We can do it, if you have a good jump, you can do it from the flat ground. But what makes it even easier is if you put the wall on this this little planter with cactus. Makes it a lot smoother and faster. You can come up here and get high ground, kill some those, etc., etc. Now our next wall is one that is going to let you get up here, but you have to pay attention to this grade. If you put the wall right here and you try to hop, not going to make it. But if you put it about here and beyond, you know, about where the fire hydrant is, you're going to be able to hop on this little ledge, and it's here. Now this one is not a super practical one because this one is one of those ones pixels really make a difference. See, right? They put this wall ad thing. I'm up here and jump through this window. However, to do that, you're going to be standing here and you're probably going to be hit from the high ground, so it's not very practical. And similarly, we can do the same thing over here. Put that wall there, hop onto this part too. Now, if you make it to this high ground, but you want to push past choke in a more sneaky or surprising way, you can actually put your wall down right here, then jump over the right here. So moving on with Dorado, if you're pushing past that first point and want to take that high ground, the fastest way to do it would be to jump backwards, put a wall down on those steps, and kind of take this ledge over here. You can hop around to the side right here, and voila, you're here. Another way you can do it if you're in this area is to come in this room, and you can actually put a wall here, hop over. The wall can either be on this edge right here, or it can even be a low part. You just have to make sure you don't hit your head, so kind of have some forward momentum, just in case. Now also in this room, you can use these benches to get up as well. So you put it right here, and hop onto the high ground. I would just probably do it while you're actually standing on the bench. You can do it not standing on the bench like that, but it's going to be more sensitive and it's going to be harder to pull off real game. So what I would do is I would jump on the bench, and then if you do this, get up. I recommend moving backwards, doing a backwards jump coming up, because there's a good chance that if you just jump on here and that, you're gonna hit on that ceiling, might be off. Probably gonna want to do something like that and then come up like that way. Now there's another way you can get up here, is you can actually use these planters right here, and if you put your wall there, get up. Could have got faster, but I should have punched that fence. But anyway, you can get up that way, get up just as easily that way too. Of course, once you're right here, you can also come around, jump around these ledges as well. Now, if you're in this area right here with this van, you can hop on the van, put a vertical wall down, and then hop straight over here. Or you can hop on the van. I would recommend a horizontal wall because it's faster, and then hop to these windows from there. Or even what you can do is direct, maybe, is you can come over here to where the spike is, and this wall is actually I'm not sure if the wall lands on the bike or if it lands on the edge, but because of one of those things, all up higher, you just have to watch out, because right here there's like a dead spot, so straight down the bike, or you put that down, or hop in that window, or you can actually hop over this bridge area. So here's what it looks like in real time. And similar to that back area over there, you can also use these planters to get up on that high ground as well. Of course, you can also go straight to that corner without anything. Now, the last little trick wall I have for Dorado is not really a super practical one, but if you put your wall up here and then you kind of hop over here and then you kind of force yourself to kind of stay still, the game will kind of just throw you off over here on this side. Okay, so with a Lucio then, from here, you can actually get over to that building and eventually over to the left building. So, go. Oh, yep, I made it. Okay, so you can make it without the amp up as long as you have a Lucio, but you need the Lucio. And you don't even need the Lucio at all to make it here, and then of course you can make it back to the other building from there. And when you're on this building, you can also give a good jump. You can make it to this other building. Okay, and without the Lucio speed, you should be able to also make this if you have a perfectly timed jump. Oh, just barely. Alright, so we can also make it across there with the speed boost. Go. Nice. Okay, we're here on Junkertown, and if we come here on the right, we can put a wall down here, and we can slide across here, and this spot is really great for flanking. And if we come around here, I have this Lucio base not speed boosting because we don't need it, but we can actually climb on this edge, right? And if we put a wall this way, we can actually jump through that window. Okay, that way is a little awkward and you can mess that up kind of easily. An easier way is actually to come to this gear, put the wall down, and then jump through like that. Now, as we come into this area in Junkertown, there's actually a few different kind of trick walls or walls that a lot of people don't realize that we can do. Okay, so the first trick wall we can do in this area is going from the staircase to the high ground. Now, the position you put the wall here is very important. There's about 20 steps on the staircase, and the wall will work anywhere from about the 4th step to the 10th step. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is basically halfway down the staircase. And the closer to the left edge you put it, the better your chance of making the jump will be. If we get a long running start and we jump late, then we can make that jump. Just barely though. And same if we go to about the 4th. And on the 4th one, the jump we're going to want to kind of scrub up against the platform a little bit when we do our jump. And we can make that. You might be able to get away with in between the 4th and the 3rd. But ideally, you want to get somewhere between, somewhere around maybe the 5th or the 6th step. But when you're eyeballing this, basically you want to go and you want to put the wall on the bottom half of the staircase, you know, somewhere around the quarter mark around here. And that should make the jump a lot easier. Okay, now we can also make it around this left side by putting a wall right here and jumping over through this window just like so. Now we can also go to this bridge area straight from the low ground, and we won't even need to be on the staircase. So if you're just right here and you want to make it up there, first of all, you can definitely do it with the payload. But let's say you don't have the payload, or the payload's just not quite in the right position. We can actually wall up and hop on this part, and then from there we'll be able to hop on to the bridge. Just like so. Okay, so as we approach this last point on Junkertown, pretty much all the high ground is open to Mei jumping on. Of course, this one is super obvious and easy. You can just wall up there from basically this side or the opposite side. But we can also make it not just from the extreme sides, but we can also make it from the middle simply by putting the wall on these little barricade things. And if we wait for that to pass, then we can jump on here. And it's actually kind of interesting because it'll kind of squish you down a little bit, but it won't push you off the wall. But you probably want to do it where there is no thing overhead, so you can jump as fast as possible. And of course, you can also put the wall on this yellow instruction thing, whatever it is, and then hop up that way. But we can also hop up here, and right here the staircase is our best friend. We just put it on the staircase like that, and make sure that we're not directly under this as the wall goes up, and we can hop up there. Over on this one, it's the same thing. Put it on the staircase, and then you can easily hop up here. Now with this one, we do have a few sweet spots like this tire, and maybe a couple other places where we can get the wall raised a little bit, but we can actually, as long as we have a good jump, we can just put it on the ground. And as long as we have a good running start straight at the window, we can make it up just like so. And for this final high ground spot, it's a little bit trickier. We're going to have to put it on this barrel over here, which can be a little sensitive. We can either hop straight there, or we can go on the ramp part from there, just like that. And of course, just hopping on the main high ground from this other side is super easy. You can put it on the high ground here, or on that ramp. You can even do it midway down these steps. You can come over here, or you could do it over here, and then from here, obviously, just walk up here. Okay, so here we are at Rialto. Currently, this map is a very new map, so I'm not sure what the common knowledge is on this map yet at this point. There's not a whole lot of like trick walls that Mei can do here, but one important wall that you may want to know about is this wall over here on the staircase, and you can kind of either harass some people and fall back, or you can fall down here, and it can be a great way to catch up with your team if you're coming back from spawn, or use it for stuff like that. Okay, so here we are at Route 66, and this is a wall that people may or may not know about, but if you wall up here, if you just kind of come up to it and try to jump, you won't be able to make that wall. But if you get a good jump, you get a good running start, you can actually make it over here onto the high ground. And this surface is fully standable, so you can come walk around on here if you like as well. Now obviously you can just wall up right there by that staircase, or wall up really anywhere along here and jump onto that roof. But that other side could be a little bit faster for you, and it could give you some good positioning on that edge as well. And one of the most useful ones, one of the most useful walls up to that roof is coming from the defensive spawn over here. So, because we could just go over to the stairs and then wall up there and get on the roof, but that would be less direct. It would take more time. We can actually just drop a wall on that edge, and then as long as we get a good jump, it has to be a really good jump, we can make it over to this roof over here, but just barely. So make sure you put the wall really as close to the edge as possible over there, and then jump, get as best of a jump, as good of a jump as you can. Okay, so now we're at Watch Point Gibraltar, and the first kind of trick wall we have is straight out of spawn from this top exit. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop down, well, we're not going to drop down, we're going to jump up and then drop a wall straight on that box as close to that corner as possible. And then from here we're going to jump across. However, we won't be able to make it alone just as Mei, so we're actually going to need a Lucio, and we'll have footage of that right here. And with the Lucio, he doesn't even have to do the amp it up, but as long as he just has his speed going, you can make it over just fine, along with any number of teammates who want to make it as well. And of course, if he does the amp it up, then it just makes it all that much more easy, makes it a lot easier. This next one's not super like secret or whatever, but it's one I didn't know for a while. And that is, we can actually make a wall here on these rocks and then come up the side right here. But it actually doesn't even have to be on the rocks. It can actually be just anywhere out here on the regular low ground. As long as you don't have a retarded jump, you can make it up. And we can even do it slightly lower here. As long as you have a good jump, you can make it up, even though there was a little bit of delay. Just don't make it too low. So here is probably going to be too low for us to make that jump. Yeah, just barely. Maybe if it was slightly more perfect, we can make the jump. So as long as you don't put this wall too far on this downward descent, you can easily just wall up here. Now, the next trick wall we have is also not a very hard one, but when we're up here, we can just kind of wall over to this other high ground. Now, if you're on the low ground right here, but you also want to get to that high ground up there, you don't have to go all the way around to do that. You can actually use this little forklift right here. However, this is going to be one of the more difficult walls to pull off as Mei. You're going to see this wall. You can have it on the low part, and it'll slide up a little bit, and it'll kind of skip a bunch, but you can have it on different kind of layers of this tractor, and it kind of slides in a few places. But we're going to kind of put it here, like I would say about halfway up the tractor, and we're going to jump forward, and we want to be kind of close to it. And in midair, we'll put the wall down, and it will boost us up. So here it is in real time. And just like so, and this can be extremely useful for pretty much obvious reasons. Now, there are a couple more ways you can use this forklift to get up there. So a different way might suit you a little bit better, although these ways will be slightly slower than the previous way. But another way you can do it is jump on this wheel right here, and then we're going to aim a little lower than the base of the stem for the steering wheel, and when we jump up, it'll appear. If we put that down under us, we can hop up here just like that. Another way you can do it is to come all the way to the back of the tractor, and you're going to have to get a running jump start straight at it, and then jump again, and then jump again. And so now we're fully on the tractor, and then as long as your head isn't straight below that, you can put a wall down here and just hop up like so. So that last way I showed you is going to be the most consistent and easiest way to get up here. But it's also going to take the longest. So if time is, really essential, then you might want to do it the forward way instead. But if you absolutely do not want to waste your wall, then by all means, come to the back here and put your wall down that way instead. Now, if we want to get to that ground right here fast, and we don't want to have to go all the way around, or if someone maybe is in that room and we want to go around there, or they're expecting us there, we can actually put a wall here, and you're gonna hop on this rock, and you can just hop here from that rock. And similarly, if we want to get to that high ground and we're here on the low ground and we don't want to have to go all the way around and do all the extra jumps and yada yada yada, and don't want to risk running into the rest of the enemy team, we can actually get up there from this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop on this box, and then we're going to jump here on the side, and we're going to place a wall, and you'll see that the wall will slide up and down this rock, and we're basically going to want to go up at that top position and jump up just like that. Now when you do this, you're going to want to aim kind of like in between. It's going to be more so on this rock, but kind of in between these two rocks. If you aim on this rock, you'll probably either not be able to put the wall down, or it will be too low. So remember, kind of aim for like in between, in that in between spot. And just like that. Okay, so another trick wall. The wall itself is not super tricky, but it's just making sure you get the proper jump. You're going to come around to this corner, put the wall down here, and then make sure you get a good jump, and you can jump straight onto the ship from there. If you're on the low ground and you want to get to the high ground up there, you can hop on these doodads and put a wall there, and then make sure you get a good jump. Doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as it's good, you should be able to get up here just fine. And of course, once you're up here, once your wall comes back, you can go straight onto the ship or over this thing, etc., etc. When you are on the ship, you can actually make it back to that high ground if you like, by putting a wall down here and then just jumping over like that. Now you can actually make it onto the ship from the low ground if we hop on here and we put a wall down like this. If you jump onto the nose, just make sure you don't jump too far onto the edge of the nose, otherwise you'll slide off. But if you jump onto a little bit further inland, I guess, on this nose, you can catch that and immediately go straight from low ground to the ship. Of course, we can use this doodad also to hop over here onto this high ground. And again, once we're up here, we can actually get to that high ground, but you're going to have a good wall placement and essentially almost a perfect jump. So if we put the wall right here, then we get a really good jump. We can actually make it to this bridge directly from that spot. Now we can also go directly to that high ground by just jumping on this pile of doodads and hopping there, or we can also just hop on these boxes, put a wall there, and then hop onto it like that. Now the most useful of these walls in this area is going from that box straight to the ship, because oftentimes you'll find yourself in this area both on attack and defense, and it can be very powerful to get onto that ship, because when you're on that ship, you basically can have sight of this whole entire large room, and then you can hop onto that lower high ground, and then obviously onto the low ground, and etc., etc. You can basically get where you want to go. Now, when you practice it a lot, then you should get it down very smoothly so you won't be much of a target. And here's what it looks like in real time. And then you're up here, you can take out the Widow, or the Pharah, the Hanzo, whoever's up here, etc., etc. Very useful. Okay, so here's another useful kind of tricky wall as we approach the outside, as we're getting to the end of Gibraltar. And this one actually takes 2 walls, so we'll wall up here. And then you'll kind of protect this position for a bit, hold your ground until your second wall comes back, and then you'll wall yourself up here, and you'll pop over here, and this is super useful for flanking the enemy team. And of course, this is also useful if you want to retreat, either on attack or defense. And if you're up here already, all it takes is 1 wall. Just pop over here, and you can retreat, or you can pursue an enemy. Yeah, it's very useful. Okay, so we can get to that same high ground from the low ground here by jumping on this crate, and we're going to put a wall on this crate, or we can also put it up here, but it's faster and actually easier to execute it by putting on this crate. And you want it as close to that corner as possible, though it doesn't have to be exactly on that corner. We're going to aim it towards this spot, and you're going to be jumping right there, and make sure you don't jump into that red piping. So once we have our wall in there, we're going to jump right here, and it will kind of like slide right here onto the high ground. So 2 things you really got to look out for on this one is make sure you don't get snagged, like you don't snag yourself on that pipe. And also, when you do this, don't get confused and think that you're jumping straight to that high ground, because you will not make it. The only reason this is possible is by making use of that slide, and we're actually kind of aiming this direction, and the slide will just barely take us over here onto the high ground. And make sure you get a good running jump on that as well. This can be super useful when you're attacking, either by just coming straight to the box like so, or on defense. But also, if you're coming from the spawn and you want to go straight up there, you can actually jump on this pipe, and then from that pipe you can jump on the box. So also very easy coming from spawn. So here's what that looks like full speed coming from spawn. And yeah, that one is very useful. One final wall that I don't see a lot of other Meis doing is walling straight up here. This one was not super tricky, but so I would mention it because it can come in really handy, and I never really see a whole lot of people doing it. Other than that, that's just about all the maps that are out right now. You may be watching this in the future where there are more maps, or maybe they've changed some maps like they recently did to Horizon Lunar Colony. But the gist of this is that with Mei, there are so many possibilities that you may not even be aware of. Basically, everywhere around you is a spot where you can climb up to. There's only a few places really where other heroes can get to high ground that Mei can't also get to that same high ground rather easily. And so in the case of future maps and maybe updated maps, just be on the lookout for all the little doodads you can hop on. Be on the lookout for different surfaces that are more smooth, and see where your wall can be placed and cannot be placed. And always make sure you get the best jumps you can. Make sure the walls are placed as close as possible to the spot you're jumping to, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you guys take this advice and use it to rank up. Until next time, peace. Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to show you a list of walls that even Grandmasters don't know about.